Mark 8:22 through 26. And they came to Bethsaida, and some people brought to him a blind man and begged him to touch him. And he took the blind man by the hands and led him out of the village. And when he had spit on his eyes and laid his hands on him, he asked him, "Do you see anything?" And he looked up and said, "I see people, but they look like trees walking." Then Jesus laid his hands on his eyes again, and he opened his eyes. His sight was restored, and he saw everything clearly. And he sent him to his home, saying, "Do not even enter the village." Good morning. My name's Amanda, and I'm here to share with you this morning about this passage in Mark. So, this account is different than a lot of the accounts of Jesus' healing miracles. A lot of times, Jesus' healing miracles happen in an instant. You might remember like the woman that was bleeding who just reached out and said, "I just wanted to touch the hem of your robe and I knew I would be healed." She was healed in an instant. And many of the other miracle stories we've read so far have happened in the same way. But this one's different. This one we heard happened a little bit slower, but still pretty fast in terms of going from being blind to being able to see. So in this passage that we just read, this account of one of Jesus's miracles, it says that this blind man's friends, brought him to Jesus, and they were the ones pleading with Jesus to heal him. And their assumption from what they had already seen was that all that Jesus had to do was touch him and he would be healed. So Jesus did things a little bit different than what their assumption was. Some people say that he did it differently because he wanted to make sure that people knew that Jesus wasn't like a rabbit's foot, some kind of lucky object that if you touched him, you would be healed. That there was something more to what Jesus was doing than just being a superstitious, lucky healing object or a wizard, right? Jesus was after something else. So Jesus, instead of just healing this man on the spot, takes the man, it says, by the hands, and then leads him out of the city. So he takes him to a kind of deserted place where no one else is to work with this blind man and heal him. And so the first thing that Jesus did was get down essentially on this man's level and take him by the hands to lead him away. He gave him a sense of comfort. I don't know if you can imagine this, but if you were blind and your friends dragged you to see a man and said, "This man will be able to heal you," you'd never met the man, you'd never seen the man do these miracles, you might be a little bit skeptical. And we can't be 100% sure that that's true for this man. But in this story, it's the man's friends that are asking for healing for him and not the man himself. And so we don't know what the man was thinking. But it seems like his friends had more urgency for him to be healed than he himself did. He may have been promised in the past that he would be healed and he wasn't. He may have just kind of given up on the opportunity to be healed. But nevertheless, Jesus gets down on his level and he takes him by the hands and he takes him away from these friends that believe and have confidence that Jesus can heal their friend. And so he takes this man by the hands, he gets on his level, and he walks him out of the city. And then it's another one of those weird times where Jesus takes his spit and he puts it on the eyes of the man. And he asks the man, "Can you see now?" And the man says, not completely. I can see men walking around, but they look like trees. So we can guess maybe that at some point in this man's life before he had sight, because he knew what men looked like and he knew what trees looked like. Someone who had been blind from birth wouldn't know that. So at some point in his life, he lost his vision. And now he has the opportunity to regain it. So he's seeing essentially like really blurry. And then Jesus again lays his hands on his eyes and then says, "Now can you see?" And the man regains his vision. And Jesus then tells him not to go back to the town that he came from, but to just go home. So he doesn't go back to these friends that would be like so excited and enthusiastic that Jesus had healed him, right? He just is told to go home. So there's a lot of interesting stuff about this account of Jesus' miracle with this man. Something that strikes my heart today that I want to share with you is that there's this weird moment in this story where Jesus doesn't heal the man immediately. And we know from reading the rest of the stories that Jesus has the power to heal someone in an instant. So it's curious that Jesus chose to heal him slowly. Something we do know, I'm going to go back to the woman that was bleeding that touched Jesus and immediately was healed. And he said, "It's your faith that's made you well." We can wonder as we're reading this story if this man was really skeptical of Jesus's ability to heal. And Jesus was sort of like walking him slowly through. "I'm trustworthy. You can trust me. I'm really going to heal you. I really can do it." So this man, instead of immediately giving him clear sight, Jesus allowed him to have like a glimpse of blurry vision, of slightly healing him. And you'd think that a man that was blind, who had been living in blackness, who then like could see the light of day even, would like shout with enthusiasm, like, "I can see." But instead, he just like gives Jesus a very direct answer, like, "No, like I can't see completely clearly yet." But that yet, it's like this glimpse that he's starting to trust Jesus. And so that faith and that trust in Jesus, then Jesus goes forward with the rest of this miracle and he heals the man's sight. What I like about this story, what I think is special for us today, is that Jesus took this man to a deserted, lonely place to heal him. And right now, we are in essentially a deserted, lonely place, right? We are being quarantined at home. It's taking longer than we would like to be able to go back to normal life. A lot of our families are discouraged and upset, and we're kind of isolated and alone during this time. And so what's encouraging about this story is that Jesus works in the isolated places. Jesus is not a man, a God who is all about fanfare. He's about like a relationship with you and knowing you. He was about a relationship with this man and knowing this man. It was this one-on-one thing. He cared individually about this man. He cared about this man knowing him. And so in this time where we're a little isolated more than we're used to, it's possible that God wants to use this to just reach into our hearts and give us a deep faith and trust in him. And so if you're going through a time of maybe skepticism, fear, doubt, frustration, Jesus wants to be there for you in this time. He wants to connect with you. He wants to open the eyes of your heart, of your soul, and of your mind to be able to know and trust him fully because he loves you individually. And he wants to be glorified. He wants to get the credit for the great God that he is, but he also wants to have an intimate relationship with you every day in the quiet and lonely, isolated places. He wants to come into our lives and be the person the person and the God that we can depend on. I hope that this is encouraging to you today. It's very encouraging to me to know that in my loneliest of places, God is there and he's working to reveal himself to me in greater ways. that when I'm at my my loneliest, um, when I'm at my most afraid, when I'm at my most skeptic place in my heart, Jesus is right there, ready to like jump in and do something amazing to broaden my faith and my understanding of Him. And He's ready and excited to do the same thing for you. So our skepticism, our doubt, our fear is not something that repels Jesus, but draws Him closer to us and gives us the opportunity to see Him clearer and in bigger, amazing ways. I hope that today this encourages you and that this week, in those moments where you might feel alone, that it just brings you so much peace. All right. Have a great day today. Bye.